After the 2023 World Tour Finals for Dragon Ball FighterZ, Janemba was one of the few characters who received a 25% meter penalty on all of his meter build. While not as severe as the 50% nerf that we saw to Lab Coat and Vegito and Gogeta Blue, it was still something that did hurt Janemba, as he liked to spend half of his bar on Hellgate combos, and before he was able to be bar positive, but with this nerf, he was then stuck with being bar negative on these extensions, making him less reliant overall as a battery character, as well as a self-sufficient anchor. Now in the current patch, this meter nerf has either been reverted, or at the very least reduced. As you can see in the old patch with the meter nerf, he didn't even break a bar off of the simple B and B that isn't optimized. Now he's able to build up that bar again, which means in his optimized combos, he's once again able to be bar positive after spending meter on an EX Hellgate. The vertical tracking of Janemba's 5S, 2S, and JS have all been buffed. This is how they would behave before. And this is how they behave now. As you can see, it seems like at super jump height, the opponent is still able to be tracked by the Ki Blast, but it also goes much higher than that. Even up towards the top of the screen, the opponent isn't safe from Janemba poking out with them with a Ki Blast. As you probably guessed, this is a significant buff for Janemba's neutral. Now, even when he's off screen against you, he's able to track you down with Ki Blast anywhere on screen, meaning that the opponent always has to be mindful about the fact that Janemba is constantly threatening them. I feel like for anyone who fights against Janemba, this will be particularly annoying, while Janemba players are going to be laughing all the way as they're trying to cash out on their new meter build. Along with those changes, Janemba can now Gatling his 2S, which puts him airborne, and his jump special into jump heavies. In particular for Janemba, I think this change is actually pretty strong for him overall, because with this, outside of sparking, he's able to threaten some pretty nasty pressure resets. +4 here. I've been able to get up to +6 in some other demos. I think this is particularly scary in Spark, where he's able to take advantage of the fact that his jump heavy stalls his momentum, meaning he can threaten a much later overhead than most of the cast. This pairs nicely with his slower 2M. While this isn't a true 50-50 because the jump heavy has a 15 frame startup and the low 2M has an 11 frame startup, a Janemba player could easily just delay this 2M low by 4 frames to try and make it a 50-50, though I do think that at that point it would be pretty reactable just to stay low once he lands on the ground. Still, it is still very tricky to block and has unusual fuzzy guard timing compared to the rest of the cast overhead and low sequences, and many people get opened up by this sequence a lot. Now, you might be thinking, well, if Janemba just does this, because we're talking about a Ki Blast into a normal, I can reflect cancel out of the Ki Blast block stun and get rid of the normal and push him back like this. You'd be right. However, because Janemba has a lot of recovery in this animation, he's very much able to go ahead and Gatling into the next normal whenever he feels like it. This has greater implications for when you consider the fact that he can also Gatling into his jump too heavy. From here, he picks up a full combo. This is actually pretty terrifying. Considering that, you might be thinking, well then I'd probably just need a super dash at him, right? However, if he cancels into the jump heavy fast enough, he'll beat you clean on the super dash. That's not even considering the fact that his jump too heavy is anti-air. So this is a pretty bad RPS situation to be in, where Janemba is at a huge advantage over the opponent, and honestly, your best option just might be to block here, especially when he's not in Spark. Shadow Kick now has more hit stop when the attack connects as a non-smash hit, so this means that Janemba has new possible combo routes. This is particularly useful, I think, in some of his 2H conversions, which I put together a very simple demonstration of here. As you can see, this didn't work before. Here's what's possible now. It's a very basic demonstration, but I hope it communicates the implications that this has for potential Janemba combo routing. There is now a light version of Shadow Kick as well, which has different properties on hit compared to the medium version. If you didn't use a smash knockdown in your combos, the medium version will cause it. Janemba's light version, however, doesn't cause this, and you'll notice how the opponent stands. This is where things get very tricky. Outside of this difference on hit, it seems like both moves share the same properties, including being overheads. You should also know that Janemba is plus enough off of this move when it hits the opponent. If he's close enough, he's able to get a combo off of it. You can see here he's plus 12. Because this is a special move, Janemba is able to cancel into this from any of his normals, which means that on a jump-in, he can now threaten a triple overhead and combo from it. However, you'll note that sometimes the distance might not be right for him to actually get the combo. In addition to that, this is a 25-frame overhead that is -5 on block. He is safe here, but he gives up his turn going for this. They also have pretty identical startup times. You know that the farther away you are from the opponent, the longer it takes for the move to come out. However, there's also another very important property, and that's the fact that these moves come out at frame 15 when the opponent is in hit stun. Now to get where I'm going with all of these properties together. When the opponent is recovering from a level 3, they are still considered in hit stun when they're in this knockdown state. Janemba can take advantage of this fact and throw out this J2L with its faster hit stun startup while the opponent is getting up from the level 3, meaning that now in the corner, Janemba has access to a 15-frame overhead that he can combo off of meterlessly. This is pretty terrifying. However, there's a couple things that we have to note about this setup in particular. For starters, it's a tight timing window that you have to hit, so I think for a human to consistently do this, they're going to need a frame kill of sorts. I've had the most success whiffing a 2L. However, as you can see, there is a couple of fail states to this one, namely the fact that I completely whiffed the attack right there, and if this happens, I'm in the opponent's face after whiffing a special move, and I'm -25, meaning that the opponent can punish me if I screw this up. That being said, I think that if Janemba players do get consistent with using this technique, they're going to be able to threaten it at any given moment. The teleport is going to telegraph a left-right mix-up, while whatever frame kill they do to set up the high is going to set up a high-low mix-up, because the opponent will have to guess between Janemba doing this JL for the overhead, or just staying on the ground and going for 2M to beat them going for a stand block. Again, this is pretty powerful, and while Janemba already has really good level 3 mix-up, this could potentially be yet another layer that he adds into the kit. And just to be thorough, it's worth mentioning that there is the opportunity for you to reflect the high and the low, but Janemba can always make a read and call that out. So again, a pretty terrifying situation for what was already a pretty terrifying situation. The one saving grace to this is that Janemba cannot possibly do a teleport and then threaten you with the 15-frame overhead he can combo off of. By that point, the opponent is getting up and is no longer in a hit stun, so the overhead's going to come out at frame 25. And if he does this and you're able to react to it, you probably kill him for it. I have to shout out Mahagi for posting this tech on Twitter in the first place, making me aware of it and inspiring me to go a little deeper into the lab to make y'all see the potential of this as well. It's also appropriate that he referenced that this shares the same property as Blueku's EX shoulder, as I would often use that as a mix-up tool, taking advantage of the faster startup to go for a surprise cross-up in the corner, where most people wouldn't expect that tech with Blueku. Now on to Janemba's assists. His A assist has gotten faster. This was the startup in the previous version. The first hit came out at frame 35. The new startup is 5 frames faster, so frame 30. It'll be more effective when you're using it defensively since Janemba spawns behind you. Now he'll be able to check the opponent a little bit earlier, potentially saving you in some cases where it wasn't possible before. It also means that people who are used to certain timings for their extensions using this assist are going to have to adjust to that as well. His B assist was also improved. There's more movement speed to it, which means it now covers more of the screen. Before in the old patch, it was pretty much a close range only assist. It does have impressive range, able to contest from half screen, I think. But that's like the very tip of range. And now, the assist advances a little bit. So the little step in, Janemba is able to poke you from this distance. His C assist, like many others, is also faster now. 35 frame startup in the old patch. Want to guess what it is in the new patch? For those of you who have noticed trends with assists like these and have guessed 23 frame startup now for his C assist, congratulations, you won my approval. If the only change Janemba received in this patch was a reversion of the meter nerf that Bandai gave him incredibly unnecessarily about a year ago, I thought that he would have been one of the biggest winners of the patch, just returning to his former glory. He's done that, and he has plenty of new tools to play with, not only with the system mechanic changes, allowing him to now mess around with jump special and to jump heavy Gatlings, but also just to this whole new move of light shadow kick with him. I am interested to see if Janemba players do experiment with the potential for that mix-up opportunity off the level 3s, or if it's simply too risky of a fail state for them to even go for and try when they have a perfectly functioning left-right mix-up with the teleport in the corner. I could see maybe someone going for it in a cheeky final mix situation. You're definitely thinking left-right surprise overhead. Just to win the game, maybe once in a blue moon, but probably not something that you base his entire game plan off of. His neutral is going to be a little bit better, I think, with the changes to his key blast tracking, able to chase the opponent down at greater ranges now. And outside of that, he's pretty much the same character that he was before, but now he gets to be meter positive in a lot of scenarios where before he was meter negative due to the meter nerfs. Definitely be looking out for this character in the anchor position because I think he's one of the best to do it in the game right now.